Wordless picture books. They might not have any written words in them, but they can be powerful tools for teaching language. These can be used for teaching foreign language within a bilingual home environment, within a bilingual school environment, for many, many different purposes. Today I'm sharing with you how that can be done. Hi friend, I'm Sarah of My Home, Your Home, Our Home. If you're new here, my family is bilingual and we are from multiple different countries. We also live overseas, and so we have a lot of languages going on in our home, and we don't have access to books in all of those languages or the money to buy a ton of resources in all of those languages. So wordless picture books have been one of our saviors in this way. And today I'm sharing with you the power of wordless picture books, and in fact, any book with pictures, and how you can use them to teach languages. If you are a bilingual home, you can use these ideas. If you are wanting to teach a foreign language, you can use these ideas. If you are just wanting to teach a primary language, you can use these ideas. So these tips are for anyone for use with wordless picture books, or picture books even with some words in them. I want to be the first to admit that if a book has words in it, it doesn't mean that you cannot apply these strategies to its use. If you're in a location or a place in life where you can't find books in multiple different languages, then today's video has you covered with lots of ideas for using resources that you might already have at your fingertips. So let's get started. My first tip is that you can use wordless picture books for narration. If the book does not have any words, or your children are unable to read, or you can even just block the words in a way, you can use this book for parents to narrate to children in any language they choose, or for children to narrate to parents in any way they choose. And I'm saying parents, but you could also use this as a teacher in a schooling environment. For example, Noah's Ark by Peter Spire is a book that our family has, and it has very, very few words in it, almost non-existent. Most of the pages have nothing but pictures on them. And when I read this book to my sons, I will narrate it to them in English. My husband will narrate it to them in Portuguese. But we can have our sons narrate the story to us in whatever language we ask them to. This makes this kind of book really, really fun because it's so easy to switch back and forth from different languages, or even to take it to different environments or use with different students who speak multiple different languages and have them all practice whatever language you want to practice, whatever the target language is. So narration is a really key way of using these books, but there are also other ways that might not be quite as obvious. Another way to use wordless picture books is with comparison and contrast. If we have multiple books from different countries and cultures, then we can look at the pictures together and compare what is going on in one book with what is going on in another, looking at the style of illustrations, looking at cultural artifacts within the books, or just different ways of explaining things, or outlook on life, worldview. It really is a great skill to sharpen in kids of comparing and contrasting. It also just helps bring to light other differences that might be present in the language and the way of expressing different realities as well. So these books are also valuable just for building cultural understanding, which is a huge part of language, really. And if you have a wordless picture book of a story that is found throughout the world, like a version of Cinderella, then you can even compare and contrast those with a young child, just looking at the pictures, again, narrating the story in different ways, and comparing how this story ends up, what cultural values are at play, what different expectations are there. You can find the vocabulary you're studying within the pictures. This is for anyone who's studying another language. If you're studying vocabulary with flashcards, or just trying to highlight a word that you're teaching to your child, then you can try to find it in the pictures, or even just saying the word to your child and having them point out where that might be in the book. This can be a really helpful and powerful strategy. Another way to use a wordless picture book is to have your child or student draw more of the story. It could be before the story began, or after the story, or even maybe more in the middle of the story if something wasn't quite explained to your satisfaction, or your child has questions about what was going on with another character in the story at the time of the narrative. Then you can create pictures to tell that story, and then you can also write text with that, of course. For older children, another way to use a wordless picture book is to have them write down the story. This is really good practice with spelling, with storytelling, and with just observation about the pictures themselves. Use the book to teach history and culture. We have a book from Brazil that is called Árvore do Brasil. This book follows the story of a tree throughout Brazil's history and traces what was happening surrounding this tree. This is a great way to explain to kids the history timeline of a country, and books like this can just teach them the history and culture in a way that is really visual. Use Wordless picture books to work on descriptions, adjectives, verbs, all kinds of different words. This is a way to not just work on vocabulary, but also to create sentences, to use syntax and grammar, and practice all of those parts of a language. Start a sentence and have your student or child finish the sentence. One great way to work on sentence structure and grammar with a child is to have them complete a thought or an idea, because they have to pay attention to what is going on in the sentence before you made a break in the sentence, so that they can complete their thought and idea. And they also have to have knowledge of the grammar and background behind the story or whatever that they are describing. So for example, if I am narrating this story of Noah's Ark to my child and I begin a sentence with, "And then Noah opened the ark door and saw," and he can finish the sentence with, "Lots of elephants, lots of giraffes, 2 pelicans." And we talk about numbers here and that kind of thing. In addition to the sentence, he can create multiple sentences from this, but also just he has to pay attention to who am I talking about in the picture, what are they doing, and what would they be seeing from their vantage point. All great things when considering characters within a story and point of view and all of this stuff. It's a super way for him to be attentive to his story, to pay attention to the context, and to also use grammar, linguistic skills to make sentences in the language. These are not all the strategies that you can use with picture books for teaching language, but I hope this gives you a really good start. If you have your own tips for using Wordless picture books, leave those in the comments below. I would love to gain more tools within our toolbox for using these books, and also I'm sure other people would love hearing from you as well. What is your favorite picture book, and how would you use it to teach language? Thanks so much for joining me today for this video. If you're interested in other videos about bilingualism, bilingual homeschooling, international life, or just literature in general, then go ahead and check out the video and playlist over here. I'm so happy that you joined me today. See you guys next time. Ciao.